He's talking about Codmos Oilam. He explained why. He explained that because we believe in Yesh Me'ayin. We have no reason not to believe in Yesh Me'ayin. Codmos Oilam, to say that there was a basic matter before is possible, but we have no reason to believe in it. Now we go to Perek Chovav. Ra'iti le'Ebelezer HaGadol דברים בפרקים המפורסמים הידועים בשם פרקי רבלעזר, that's the medrash של רבלעזר הגדול, לא ראיתי כלל יותר תמימים מהם בדברי אף אחד מהמלכים בתורת משה רבנו. I haven't seen anything as weird as this in anything in any Jewish literature. Pretty rough. והוא, שהוא אומר דברים, שמע לשונו, listen to him, אמר, and this is what he writes. שמיים מאיזה מקום נבראו? Where were they created from? No, the premise is it has to come from somewhere. It's already an interesting question. What do you mean, Meif should come Nivru? To the extent that in the Chanami here, I just want to point out, there's a Pirush on the Shir Hashirim, which is Miyuchas in the Kisser Ramban, Miyuchas to the Ramban. Lamais, it's not the Ramban. Lamais, it's Rabbeinu Ezra, which is Talmud Rabbeinu Yitzchak Saginor, the son of the Ravid. Saginor, that's the Maisa, the Rebbes of the Ramban and Kabbalah. Isaac the blind, that's the son of the Ravid. Okay, he had a big Talmud Rabbeinu Ezra, and this is after the Ramban's Talmidim. So this is his, and the Avos HaKodesh, the Rameir Gabbai brings it, the Ramak brings it, and the Pardes. So anyway, so it's right there like this. After he brings the Lashon of the Pirkei Rebelazar, he writes, V'zeh al derech Platon, and this is like Plato. Ha'omer ki shavhu shimatzeh davar milo davar. Doesn't make sense. It's something that can happen out of naught. Ki yesh chomer nimtza ki chomer leyotzer. Obviously, it's a cause of reality. Therefore, something must come from something. There has to be, he believes that creation has to be logical. Ad ki zeh bichlal hanimnaim kulam. It's almost impossible to think otherwise. Now, this is a, so to speak, quoting Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Ezra, Talmud of Rabbi Yitzchak Saginor. This is pretty rough. This is the Chatchila saying not believing Yesh Me'ayin. I don't know if you're willing to hear that. So it's more than obvious. The Rambam himself walks out against this. So this, the Radal seems to be saying, Huvade Gilyam Ezet Toye. Interesting. It can't be. He says it can't be. Now, why can't it? Because for goodness sakes, we all know this is the common belief of Judaism, Pshuta Shemikos of Yesh Me'ayin. So where is this coming from? Okay? And they say it comes to her from this lashon of Pirkei Rebelazar. That's why the Rambam is bringing that Pirkei Rebelazar. Now, those who know, the Radal himself explains this whole thing through the Zohar and the Tikkunim. Yeah, there it's easy. Once you, well, the whole language is clearly something metaphoric. So the question is what the metaphor means. So if you look at it in simple philosophical language, if you think the Rebelazar is based on the discipline of philosophy, this sounds that there has to be a logical existence, there has to be a cause for proportion to the effect. That's if you think he's talking that language, is the equivalent of a person knows one language, doesn't know the other 20, and people are talking in number 18, but it sounds like number 1, and he thinks he's hearing number 1. That's what's left over here. The Maisa, it's funny, once you understand that there are other disciplines to understand Midrash Chazal, to explain it at this level, and therefore come to a theological conclusion, is pathetic. And that's actually what the Rambam can't handle. That's what the Rambam has a problem with that. I just want to read this because I suggest reading it. It's a very in the Radal is Talmidei of Mendel Shklover, the Gra, David Luria. This is a base Midrash Gra when it comes to the Ivri Kabbalah. Well, he really does a good job of explaining. I went through it before just to go through it again. Yeah, but let's see what the Rambam writes, okay? So the Rambam writes, I'll just give you a small example, just give you a small thing, okay? It says in the Mashal, it says in the Bir Shagur and Sefer Yisira, it says that when it says that the Rebelazar says, Shemayim Me'ezim Mokan Nivru Mi'or Lavusha Sha'kadosh Baruch Hu, Hu Shehu Lavush. Okay, God has a clothes, and he is, and the Shemayim is made from that clothes. Well, God, goodness sakes, God has no clothes. Be honest about that. Let's understand what this is. So you're going to kick into some metaphor. So once you, so why think of a philosophical metaphor? Think and say X factor, okay? If God has a levush, it's a mashal to X, okay? So let's just say from that mitzvah of God expressing himself in X, that is the place where he makes Shemayim. That already sounds okay to me, no problem at all. I mean, from what midah did the Kadosh Baruch Hu create the world? So you can all play games, say midas Elokim, not that you know what it is, but let it be, okay? So then this makes sense. I'll read the lashon of the Pirkei Reb Elazar. Shemayim eizeh makom nivru me'or levusho she'Hakadosh Baruch Hu shehu lavush. God's wearing a nice suit, and from the radiance of that suit is where He created Shemayim. Okay, that help you a lot. Okay, lakach mimenu uparas kesimla. What did He took? He took that aura of the lavush and He spread it out like a simla. V'yu modchim v'olchim, and it was spread and spread. He stretched it. Ad shamar lem dai. That's enough. Okay, hello? Are we good? Did that help you a lot? Is this the language of science or anything you understand? It's poetry, right? So why would you do anything with this? He was stressed. Enough, guys. Okay, who's he talking to? I thought the Shemayim was the oil of Busho. Did it have a will of its own? So who did he say die to? He said to his light, okay, it was a self-combustion. How did it work? Don't you understand? He screamed that this is not to be understood in any simplistic fashion. Shamar l'shamayim dai v'amdu. V'inayin shem olavu shon ivra. How do I know that? Shenemar. It's a pasuk. Oita or kasalma. He wears light like a suit. Noter shamayim kairia, and he spreads out the sky like a curtain. Okay, very nice. This is the mucker of this. Okay, you're doing well. Haaretz mi'ezeh mucker nivus. I'm almost. It's appelled by me that the Rambam had a problem with this. I mean, there can't be in my book, a logical person would look at this and say he's hallucinating or he's talking heavy metaphor. So then what's my limit? Why do you tell me to say things we don't understand? I know. Figure out his poetry. How can you understand the poet's poetry unless you understand his world? Problem is, Rambam thought he understood the whole world, and therefore he didn't think there was more than what he could comprehend. And this was a problem for him. He didn't have where to put it. It was for him the perfection of man is philosophical thinking. It's the truth. That's what he is. Afterwards, it's faith. That's the basis of the whole book. Okay? So basically, if we're to understand this within a metaphor to some philosophical understanding, it doesn't add up. Then I agree with you. Totally agree with that. It almost sounds like he's hallucinating. It doesn't make sense. Philosophically, that shouldn't be a question. Okay? Okay, so therefore, that's what he said. This is like weird, never heard such language before. I think a lot of things, when you tell me that God has a stomach, it's also weird. And I know how to kick in the different metaphors. Well, this can be the same. I'm surprised that he was very nervous. I'll give you another one. This is even better. Did you know there was snow there? Well, Yecheskel mentioned snow there. So I got news. You know, there's snow. Would you believe it? Up there, it must be cold. There's snow under the Kisei HaKavod. No, very nice. But no one asked where the Kisei HaKavod come from. And where did the snow come from? They didn't ask. Or where did the Or come from? They didn't ask. They only start asking the question from Shemayim, from Oretz. Interesting. The Medrash doesn't ask, and where did that come from? Don't you see it's meaning something? It's taken for granted there's something which does not have cause, and then this comes from a certain primary reality. That I have no problem with. That I definitely have no problem with, okay? But it doesn't mean to say that everything must have a primary cause, okay? That's not saying, because he's not asking the question, where does Kisya come from? Where does Levusha come from? Where does the Shelley come from? Forget, I want to say that this Hagoy in the Pirush Meyuchet Ramban, actually, must be very faulty as far as thinking is concerned, because if he thinks this proves that everything must have a reason, well, why is he starting to ask only here and not before? The answer is, he only asks from the words bara. But obviously there's something preceding the bara. Hello? What is it? Okay, so there's something preceding the bara. What is it? Kisei HaKavod. Okay, where did that come from? Okay, so where did you get from? So weiter. He says, watch how it worked. V'zarak al hamayim. You know, there was water there, don't you know? Pasuk says it was water. Where the water come from? I don't know. Didn't ask the question. Takes for granted there's water, so he threw the snow on the water, and it froze. V'nikfu, v'na'asa afar ha'aretz. Okay, maybe, that's a possibility. Shene'emar, ki la'ashel yomar hevei ha'aretz, the pasuk in Eiv. V'chulu, v'chulu, v'chulu. Do you understand what we're doing here? So now this is the text that the Rambam is very perturbed with. So sometimes I'm repeat again, you have to understand, like, why is he so nervous? Let's read him. So he says, "Re'istir Reb Elazar Agal dvarim beprakim amfusamim yiduim shem pirkei Reb Elazar lo re'iti klal yoter tmuim mehem b'divrei af echad malachim b'torat Moshe Rabbeinu." And not any Jewish literature wrote anything weirder than this. V'hu shehu amar dvarim shma leshono. He quotes him because he almost doesn't want to explain. Want to see what he says? It's like awkward. What? Shemayim eizem kom nivreu miolav v'shol lakach v'natas kesimla v'yunim techim v'olchim shenemar oto or kasalma not the shemayim kariyav arts meizem kom nivreu mishal kishtach kisei kavado lakach v'zarak shenemar kedeshel yemar hu arts. Then nusach lashon sham. It's a bit cut to pieces, but it's okay. Umi yiten v'yadati masu v'chacham zeh. I wish someone would help me understand, like, what does this sage mean? Or does he think it's impossible that things come from naught? And there has to be a primary matter? There has to be a primary matter? And he's willing to accept that the Shali Takas Kisei Kav represents primary matter, and I don't know, maybe Kisei Kav represents primary matter, and basically Or is called primary matter, and then Shemayim comes from there. Because he believes that bara means, it doesn't mean yesh mi'ayin. Bara also means yesh mi'yesh. The only one that teaches us that bara means yesh mi'ayin is the Ramban. Ramban beginning of Bereshis. Why is he? Because he believes in yesh mi'ayin. So he understands that the word is bara. Shemayim voice is yesh mi'ayin, creating primary matter. And then he did 7 days of forming. If Yom Rishon he created primary matter, and 6 days of forming. Actually 5 days of forming, because on the 6th day, which is the 7th of creation, he just rested, or maybe he created rest. I'm not sure what that could be, that too. But whatever it be, so according to Ramban, in light of that, he must say that bara means yesh mi'ayin, because it doesn't mean bara, and then there's vayomer yehi. So he understands bara is creating the primary matter, so therefore why is it called bara? Because bara means yesh mi'ayin. It's similar for the Aramaic word of bra, outside, external. There's I-thou relationship, equals duality. Yesh mi'ayin, there's naught, and there's something which is not the naught. Equals, there's an I-thou relationship, if you ever read a little bit of Buber, and that's what you have in front of you. You create shniut, you create duality. There's X and Y, 2 points. Okay, so what's that? That's nothing more than Shemayim V'aretz, as Ramban explains, primary matter of Shemayim, primary matter of Ort. That's what he decides the pasuk is. As far as he seems to be taking for granted that no, because it's not the word bara. Bara does not mean yesh ma'ayin, it means yesh mi'yesh. So if that's the case, what's his question? The question is, where does it come from? Who said it comes from anywhere? Now the Emma says, it's funny, how do you know he's coming? He's taking for granted he has a philosophical question, and he's looking for an answer. And he proves the answer from the pasuk. If Shegate fakert, if Shegate, he has a pasuk. And the pasuk says, for example, Lashel Yomar Hever Oretz. The pasuk in here. It starts with there. Lashel Yomar Hever Oretz equals the primary matter of Oretz is Shelik. It starts from there. That's there. Or for example, at Shemayim, what's the pasuk? The pasuk is Menayin Shem Olavu Shenemar Oito Orkazalma Noito Shemayim Keiriya. So forget, it starts with a pasuk. This I begin to understand, okay? And as we're not looking, he's looking to understand the psukim. And Rebbe Elazar is trying to understand, there's a pasuk which says, Oitesh or Kasalma, Noitesh Ram Keiriya. There's something that has to do with Or Kasalma is the Oit or Kasalma is the parallel of Noitesh Ram Keiriya. So it's a pasuk. So we understand, since it's a different ksuvim, we understand this is a theological truth. Now what does it mean? So he elaborates and explains. So it's not that Rebbe Elazar had a problem. Hey, where's it coming from? Elamai, I have to say it came from somewhere, and then he solves where's the place coming from this. And this pasuk gives me the answer to my question. Honestly, if you now I'm talking and learning. Okay, I don't know where's it from. The Rambam should think that that's what he means. Mechitesi. He thought enough is he could start the lush of the Medrash is where does it come from? It has to come from somewhere, which is parallel to what that Pirush and Shirashim thought when he read that the Pikud of Blazer. What's his question? Obviously, he's like Plato, which thinks there's no such thing. It's coming from naught. Okay, how do you know this? What's the titzah in this Medrash? Where does it come from? It comes from this, as the pasuk says. Now, where did he come from? He came from the pasuk. He didn't come from a philosophical question. He came from the pasuk. The pasuk said this. It came from that. That's all. It didn't say that it has to come from anywhere. It could have hypothetically. It could have been yesh me'ayin itself. The answer it isn't. There's a yesh before that. What's the pasuk? The pasuk teaches me there was a primary yesh. What's the primary yesh? Oy kazalma is the primary yesh. Now, where'd that come from? Beit HaKadosh Baruch Hu did yesh mi, that's the yesh mi'ayin. In other words, according to the Pirkei Elazar, the yesh mi'ayin is the orkas alma, or the yesh mi'ayin is the sheli tachet kisei hakavod. That's the yesh mi'ayin. That's what it's and it's supposed to the Ramban, which thinks Shemayim v'Oretz is yesh, are the yesh mi'ayin. So the Pirkei Elazar thinks that these psukim tell me what the primary yesh mi'ayin is. That's all. He thinks that Shemayim means Shemayim and Oretz means Oretz. Once again, does it mean the sky the way I know it and the land the way I know it? I don't mind saying this is like the Ramban understands the celestial realities and the tangible realities. To the Ramban, right? That Shemayim doesn't mean spiritual or metaphysical realities, and Oretz means the Olam Ha'asiyah, as one would put it, the realities which are tangible and touchable, etc. Okay, that's what he writes over there. That Shemayim v'Aretz are the Chemi Hiyuli from which he made the transcendent, and Oretz is the Chemi Hiyuli from which he formed afterwards the touchables. Okay, so whether is that pshat in the Elazar, I wouldn't care either. That doesn't. I don't know. I don't think anybody can know. Okay, we only know that he understood. So where's he coming from? He's coming from a pasuk. That's why this whole time under Rebbe Elazar, lo zachiti lavino. I really need someone to. I need Enli Rav Lekach. I know what to ask, but whoever I had to ask is dead, so I don't have who to ask. But I don't know. Let's see what it says over here. So he says, "Mi yiteid v'yadati maser chaim savur ki batel hu shimatzei yesh ma'ayin." ויש הכרח שיש שם חומר יתהווה בכל מתהווה, ולפיכך ביקש לשמיים וארץ מאיכן נבראו. Is that was his problem? ומה הדבר שהושג בתשובה הזו? What exactly has he answered to himself if that's the case? הרי מתחייב לומר לו, ואור לבושו מאיכן נברא. If that was his problem, well, then where did he stop with the pasuk? His problem should continue. V'shelit ha'kisei hakavod meichan nivra. V'kisei hakavod atzmo also meichan nivra. So that doesn't make sense. V'im ha'isa kavanato bi'ur levusho davar bilti ba'or levusho bilti nivra. If you think the or levusho is that always was, that's kadmot. Okay. V'chen kisei hakavod bilti nivra. Yizeh muzar ma'od. שנמצא שהודה בקדמת העולם, אלא שהיא השקפת אפלטון. Okay, right. He's basically saying there is Chaimer Kadmon. This is very awkward. Why? Because that is not what is customary in Judaism for X, Y, and Z. So, Ein Chanami, this Pirush of Amyuchas Ramban says exactly that, which is Rabbeinu Ezra, says exactly that. That's, it seems to be, David Louis is quite right, that Mistavra Mill said that is someone added a note, which comes, this is Mamash Lashon of the Rambam or Nebochim. Okay, but that's what you have here. This is l'chayr from this. This is what he's saying. Avayot kisei hakavod min nivraim befirush amru chazal chachamim kain. Ela be'ofan nifla. How do I know that he's wrong? Because Chazal himself. Now, there's no raya. Chachamim can say this, and Rebbe Elazar can say otherwise. We don't have steers between midrashim. It would just be a pella that we have Rebbe Elazar saying something which is not normative, and our idea of it being normative comes from these midrashim. And this would be like the odd man out. That's his question. Amru she'u nivra couldn't bria sa'ilam. That's actually found also in Pirkei Rebbe Elazar itself. It's a Medrash Rabbah, it's in Gemara Pesachim. But Lamaisi, it's found even in Pirkei Elazar itself. Let me find it for a moment. Oh, where are you? Just 1 minute. See if I can find it for a moment. that's really Chamishi. No, it can't be before and Shlishi. Yeah. Here it is. Here. It says, Pigud Rose writes as follows: Shiva Dvarim Nivru Ad Shalei Nivra Olam. Not sure that he had the whole thing we have here. Shiva Dvarim Nivru Ad Shalei Nivra Olam. What are they? Torah, Gehenna, Gan Eden, Kisei HaKavod, and Beis HaMikdash. No. Okay, please. So it means something, but it doesn't mean the Solomon's temple. Okay. And it doesn't mean Ezra and Nehemiah or Herod's edifice over there. It doesn't mean that. Utshuva. Oh, and Shmoisha Mashiach, Mנחem. Okay? And now we have a pasuk. So what do we know? So it said, the Gemara says Menachem Shmoi. Not me, but I don't know. Well, the other one's dead. So it's got to be another one coming. Okay? Kisa covered Menayin, Shenemar Nochain Kisa Chami'oz. Mi'oz. Ad Shalei Nivra Olam Beis HaMikdash Minayin Shenemar Kisei Kvoid Marei Mereshis Merishoin Ad Shalei Nivra Olam Kisei Kvoid Marei Mereshis is talking about the Beis HaMikdash, the Kisei HaKavod, specifically the Aron HaKodesh. We'll see that tonight. Taka is before Shemishoin that the Aron HaKodesh is like is the throne of God. Okay, that means, and since the Aron is Iker, the Mikdash Ramel says the Mikdash is called Kisei Kvoid Marei Mereshis. Now, what do these things mean? So that means, what does it mean, the Koim Shenivra? No. What does it mean? It means, this was needed prior. Is this the Chomer Hiyuli from which he created Gehenna? The world was formed through hell, Gan Eden, okay? We have to, Torah I can understand. If Torah means to say Chachmi, Lord Atzilus, that means infinity expressed itself in Chachma, that Chachma expressed itself in creation. This the Ramban writes. This I know what it means when it says Torah Nir Kodesh Nivra Olam. Doesn't mean he made matter. It means God expressed himself expressed himself from himself in a certain midah called Chachma. As we learned that many times, that the Chachma Kadosh Baruch Hu comes from himself. We learned that in Rambam, as opposed to all Chachmas, which are nothing more than processing external phenomena. The Chachma Kadosh Baruch Hu is an expression of the infinite self. It's basically a constriction of the infinite self in finite form. Okay, yes, in the order of creation, first God wisened up and then expressed that wisdom to express that in creation. He had a certain wisdom. That wisdom, like Bezalel, was very wise. He created a lot of things with that wisdom. Same thing here. Ayin Baramban, Ba'agdomas Chumash, and it's very mufurish over there. That's where he describes that the Torah, the way we know it, is something which is Eish Choyra al Gabe Eish Levana. It's a very important thing to read that. You can either read that or you should read the Drush or the Ramban, Kotor Sashem Tamima, which is even more elaborate. I mean, Eben Torah, which wants to know what you're doing most of the day, probably should know this by now. And if not, you had a long night. You should do it. You know that. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. So this is Torah. Okay? So Vashtei does. So he himself said the key, whatever it says, that Kisei HaKavod was there before. And it's not because you needed a Chomer. So what does it mean? Just like you answered Chachma, the Torah. So it's Takabar. Well, he doesn't have a medrash for Takabar Isur Alma. So he says, yes. So where's it come from? Whatever Kisei HaKavod is, that has the idea of Shalig, and that is the Hanhaga or whatever it is which expressed himself in Oretz. Now, what does he say? He says they told us Shu Nivra Kodim Brias Ha'olam. So what do we know from that? That it wasn't always there. It was Nivra. It was Nivra. So obviously, what's he trying to say? Don't tell me that the Pshat in Picture of Blood takes for granted the Kisei always was, and this is the primary place of the Mokkah, because I need a yesh. It's not true. It's interesting. He doesn't quote himself. He quotes the Gemara Psachim. He doesn't quote. It's also the same medrash itself, like the 2 pages before, would make the question even stronger. We can't say that Reb Elazar means that, because Reb Elazar was called the Kisei HaKavod also a Nivra. Forget, this is the Raya G'dola that he's not talking about that question. There's no way that he's talking about that. He can't be going with Plato's approach that something can't come from naught, because here we have it. What's his source? Kisei HaKavod. And Kisei HaKavod, he also says, was a created form. So obviously he's not dealing with Plato's question. He says, Ava l'shonis ha'ksuvim lehiskira by bria klal. Prat l'mashamar David, if you carefully at the different psukim, that he brings, they don't mention the word bria. They just mention it's from there. Doesn't mention the word bria. So he says, Hashem b'shamayim echin kiso. Now it doesn't say bria by kisei hakavod. He says he prepared. Okay? Something which can be explained. There's ways of explaining it in multiple ways. So that alone wouldn't tell me an idea of bria. Now, the only place I have for bria of kisei hakavod is a medrash. He says. I repeat again, it's ironic. That medrash is actually found in Pirkei Rebbe Elazar. That he did. It's a pellet, right? He's making a whole drasha. Look 2 pages earlier, it's there. He probably didn't have the whole manuscript. It's very simple. We have it in all the manuscripts that's found here. Okay? So he says, so if Chazal say something, doesn't mean that Rebbe Elazar agrees with it. That's what he's trying to say. And maybe he believes, maybe the pshat in Rebbe Elazar is that kisei hakavod was always there. It's kadmon, and the pshat is everything has to come from a chemer kadmon. We have Chazal that say kisei hakavod is nivra. Who says Rebbe Elazar agrees with it? That's his oshtikol Torah. Because the psukim don't demand it. The pasuk says heichin kisei. Heichin does not have to be bria. He's making a whole shtickle Torah on a medrash without knowing that he's shooting himself in the leg, because the Bala medrash is Rebbe Elazar himself. What can you do? You don't usually find such a problem in Rishonim. You usually find it in Achronim. And you don't usually find it in Rambam. So, but I'm just trying to, this is one of the classic realities where infallibility is not a Jewish doctrine. Even the Rambam, which is the king, let me tell you, he's the king, okay? He talked to the king. He knows it. Even he makes it. This is a mistake. And it's a very important chapter to learn. Okay? You know this, you have to read him, and then you have to test him and understand it and prove it and check where he's right and where he's wrong, because he can be wrong. This is frightening, okay? But I wouldn't even open, I wouldn't say this, but I know how to read. I don't know how to think, but to read, I know. Okay? This they taught me already how to read. I know how to read. He's off. Weiter. The fact that the kisei is forever, so we don't know it was a nivra, but we know it's forever. You notice he's willing to say something adrabah. Since we know it's forever, so pashut it's not a nivra, because no nivra is forever. Anything which has a beginning has an end. That's his whole mahalach. Okay, and therefore, by the fact that it is forever, he seems to be implying that this is, so to speak, this may allude to the fact that it's not a nivra. Okay. Once again, as I'm Michael, does the pasuk say la'ayim l'kivsa l'dor dor? What does the dor dor mean? The pasuk says zeshmi la'aylam v'zeh zichri l'dor v'dor. It's a pasuk. Okay, it's a Gemara Psachim. If you don't know Psukim, it's a Gemara Psachim. The Gemara says, "Zeh shmi la'olam, v'zeh zichri l'dor v'dor." What does that mean? Ba'olam hazeh, it's written Yud Kei Vav Kei, but you call it Adnus, and l'dor v'dor for different generations. It's called Zeh shmi la'olam. My name is Yud Kei Vav Kei forever. V'zeh zichri l'dor v'dor. For in different generations, I'm remembered that way, but they don't call me by that name. The first Gemara, the dor v'dor doesn't mean la'olam. They're two separate things. La'olam, his name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. More at the end of the fourth page of Psachim. But as far as the Zeicher of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what do you call him? You don't call Yud Kei Vav Kei, you call him Aleph Daled Nun Yud. So it's only Zeicher for the Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's the Dor V'Dor. For the X amount of generations, it's going to stop. The Gemara says before, Ba'olam Haba, Keshem Shu Nichtav Kachu Nikra. What does Olam Haba mean? Okay, that's now it depends. So Rambam Shita is the Olam Haba. Olam Haba means Olam of neshamas without gufim. Okay, so it's very simple. But as much as there's a mitzvah of yesh of gufim of chaymer, that's included in dor v'dor. So could that be lishitasei? In other words, therefore he understands that as much as there's gufim, that's called dor v'dor. And there's an olam after dor v'dor, which is olam and neshamas b'li gufim. This is shita. So yeah, I understand this more in Nivukhin. Because without that, I would ask, how do you know it's forever? The answer is for him, dor v'dor means forever, as much as we're going to be living in bodies. And once we go up to the celestial, whatever that thing is over there, up there, and we're going to be in the end of the world, this world stops if we go to another sense of existence without body. So this world ceases to exist. That's already called Lahilo. Good. So very good. So Davar is a word describing the world of creation the way we know it. So that the Rambam fits l'shitasei. So Rambam says if that's the case, kisei l'Davar means forever. No, we don't. Those who know other shitas Rishonim know that that's the pshat. According to the Ramban, the Ramah, the Rosh Mishans, Olam doesn't mean neshamas without gufim. It means neshamas, big gufim, and we're going to have a different. It'll be a dominance of neshama over guf. It will not. It'll be gufim mi chomer. The lashon is that the neshama will be mayor through the guf. Whatever it means, I don't care. It means to say that you'll be living a different level of consciousness, of soul consciousness, not body awareness. That's what it means in a very gross, simplistic way. But that means, but you're going to be here, in Karen Biavin. I don't know. Yeah, well. If you want, whatever, you're going to be here. I hope they have insulation by then. It's going to be here. It's going to be here. And Vashtei Dar. And that's called what? That's called La'ilam. So what's Dor V'Dor? Before Ilam Atikun. No, if that's the case, this passage doesn't prove anything. So the whole shtickle Rai is making is l'shitasi. I just told you shtickle Torah. The whole Rai is making is l'shitasi. If he understands the word Dor V'Dor versus the word La'ilam. Okay, are we good? Weiter. If you think that, so to speak, there's Kadmos HaKisei, what does Kadmos HaKisei mean? If you say it always was, it means an expression of God, not something which is outside of God. It is God in essence. It's like Chachma. We talk about Chachma, we talk about, it's what we call in Kabbalah Olam HaAtzilus. It's an emanation, but not a creation. There's between emanation and creation, and emanation has no sense of self. There's nothing outside of it. It's in me expressed in my certain way. And there's creative forms where I've created an I thou, as I mentioned before. That's giving a sense of yesh. Yesh me'ayin means it has an essence, as an identity, but in truth, where does it come from? It comes from the naught, and it's dependent on me, granted. But it does have a sense of self. I think that everybody in this room has a sense of self. You're created, okay? If you were just being emanated, that you wouldn't, the word sense of self wouldn't exist. There's no such thing as me. I am emanating something. That's me in my expression of self. There's no someone else there. So one has to understand that if he said that the kisei is forever, that means it's basically an adjective describing God in emanation. Velo guf nivra, but not a body which is created, actually has a separate sense of self. Well, if that's the case, it's not, now he has a problem. He understands it's nothing more than emanation of God. So it's God in a certain mood, shall we say. So then how can anything be created from it? Now, once again, the question is interesting. When I say it's a Torah of God, so he takes it literally, it's nothing more than emanation, and therefore, well, ask yourself the question again. If it's nothing more than emanation, so it's not material. It's not material. It's not a chaymer kadmon. And if your problem is you can't create from naught, that is naught. Because what is it? It's a Torah. It's an adjective of God in a certain behavior pattern. But there's no chaymer. It's God himself. So you're going back to infinity. So you haven't gained anything. That's his question. If you understand the Olam is Kadmon, if your problem was you have to have a primary source, you understand the Kisei was not Nivra, so what does it mean? It's God in a certain Hanaga. God in a certain Hanaga. So where did it come from? From God in a certain Hanaga. So you didn't gain anything in your question. Your question was God in a certain Hanaga is infinite, and therefore infinity cannot be the reason of finite. What did you want to do? Say that there was always primary matter, but if you're taking for granted that Kisei is Kadmon, if you're religious and you don't believe in duality, see, if you believe in different gods, I have no problem. And you can say this was there except for God. By saying that, you're saying God's not infinite. But if you're willing to accept that God is infinite, because the pasuk in multiple places in Tanakh say that, he's totally one, if that's because you must come to a conclusion, this is nothing more than a Torah of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So you haven't gained anything. That's his question on Rebbe Lazar. Taking it for granted, Rebbe Lazar is coming from a Platonian problem. He doesn't see the solution because Kisei are covered. Granted, the Kisei are covered, he thinks is nothing more, always was. But since it's not matter, what is Kisei are covered? It's a Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so you haven't answered anything. The only way you're going to believe in a thing like that, if you're going to come to a conclusion that's independent of God, that would be of a deserve. So this is what he asks. So then he says, Vayoter Tamua Amaro Or Levusho. It makes us very, very dizzy. That's what he writes. Interesting. But lo nitbarer libo biur must speak. I really don't have a good explanation for any of this. As I pointed out, I think it all comes from the basis that he thought it's a question. It's coming from there. It's coming from a question that doesn't understand the solution. That's what he's piled up the question. What's your solution? Kisei Kov is not a solution, etc. These are not solutions. But once you understand, it doesn't come from there. It doesn't come from the question. He has a pasuk. And what it means, I don't know. Okay? And he doesn't bother explaining. But this is the pasuk. The pasuk teaches me Seder Abriya. Okay, I don't know what Seder Abriya wish. I also don't know how God took off from an Adam and made derma, made a person. I don't know how. I was just stating pasuk. What it means, I don't know. So Rabbi Elazar do the same thing. He takes a pasuk in here. If he takes a pasuk in turn, that's what the pasuk says. And thus, this is what it means. What it means, if you can explain how God created man from dust, you can explain how He created this thing from Kisei HaKov. That's so. I don't think honestly. This is where I think he blew it. No, it's a Peladic Rambam. Weiter. The only reason I mention it, because I'm afraid that you're going to be misled by this, make a mistake in this, and get this straight. Don't think, what he's saying, I don't know. But don't take this as a source that we believe in Platonian Cosmos Olam. 1 minute, I'm a little lost. If you think why not? Maybe he does mean it. You don't know his answer. No. It's clear. It's very interesting how he's coming here. He's saying things which are weird, because if he means that Platonian, he doesn't understand the answer. So what's left? First, I'm going to tell you shouldn't be misled. What am I supposed to do with this now? So if I'm going to take your Hanoch, your Kasha, so Plato's right. Forget it. That's the emes. And you yourself said before that if you can tell, you have a source that it's right, you would change the psukim. You had no problem. We learned in the previous parak. Okay, we have a medrash. And the medrash comes from psukim. What's your problem? So believe in Plato and goodbye Charlie. And accept Cosmos Olam. What's your sweat? Well, you don't understand the truth. That's a reason. It's very mudna what he's doing here. I'll be very honest with you. He takes for granted that he's saying things which doesn't make sense, because since the answer is not the answer, that's not the question, that he doesn't understand what the question is. He's leaving it with the tzorchian. So don't be misled by the question, because the question can't be what it means, because I don't understand the answer. He's now willing to say it makes no sense than to say that the question, but you don't comprehend the answer. That he's not willing to do. He's not willing to say this. Let's tackle this question because his Anoch is like is a Platonian. Elamai, I don't understand the answer. No, that's not. The Rambam doesn't go there. If I can't understand the answer, it means that's not the question. So he doesn't believe in this in concept. What is the question? I don't know. It's weird. That's what he says. I'm just putting down what this parak means. Therefore, he's saying it. You don't think this is really the question, which is obvious. This Mr. Magia, if you're going to be miyachas it to the Pirush Rabbeinu Ezra b'vakasha. It's just funny to say this because Rabbeinu Ezra is ma'avi voice of Masoros of Kabbalah. We're talking about the Talmud Rebbe Yitzchak Sagenar, Talmud of the Rai. This is mamish the Rebbe of the Ramban and Kabbalah. This is where the thing starts. Okay, it's not Rashbi and these things. Atarsa Kabbalah, the understanding the whole concept of these midrashim and Zohar, etc., come from these people. Okay, so to say that they are telling pshat in the Chazal in an Aplatonian fashion, and not the way brother dear open up the Gemara and Sefer Tznius, so what he explains over here. Yeah, there's a whole language here, so that's why it's a different pashut that the Radal is right. That Hagoy is somebody which read Rambam and then wrote a note, and then as usual the printer or the manuscript, like many things, they come in. We have many things like that. Well, according to Taisvis, you probably think there's certain Rashi and Daf Tes was someone added, and then that's what Rashi meant. I don't know, or things like that, Things we find that multiple times. Many times you're shas, so it's not the primary shas. That's agos marshal, which were kicked into the Gemara. Many times you have hochi garcinons. It's there, man. Who fixed it? Well, if you ever read the marshal, not the marshal, the marshal you have is distilled. The marshal is big like a babash on a riff. Most of the marshal is tikkun gersas of Bavli. You don't have it because it's already been incorporated into the Gemara you read. You're not reading Gemara the way the Rishonim read it. You're already reading Gemara with Hagores Marshal in there already. I want you to understand that. If you don't know it, now you know it, okay? Okay, you should want to see what you can't see. It's a collector's item today to see a marshal, the real thing. In Hebrew, Yisrael Toshma used to, Mami wrote a whole book on this, but whatever. So the same thing here. So I have no problem of understanding how Hagoas creep into a text in manuscript form. It's not a big kasha for me to see a thing like that. That's what's happening here. But weiter. I did explain what this does explain something. What does it explain? He did explain. This I know. What do I get out of this medrash? What the question is, he doesn't understand. What the answer is, he doesn't understand. But what can I get out of this medrash, which I can understand, that the matter of Shemayim and the matter of Aretz are two separate things, which is parallels the Ramban and Bereshis Aleph Aleph. Chayma Shemayim Zulus Chayma Haaretz. She'em shnei chomarim shonim ma'od. Ha'echad miyuchas lo yitalem machmat adinutov v'ramutov u'mor lebusho. Doesn't know what it is, but he understands it's very highly stationed in some metaphysical reality. Or levusho. Doesn't explain what levush of God is, but it's very clear levush is something closer to you than your chair. It's clear. And this is a levush which is me'ir, which probably means it's something, a revelation. This levush reveals God. That's probably the metaphor of light, okay? The idea of a certain revelation of a very intimate relation of God is the source of Shammai. Good. That's what he writes. Again, he says, V'chemer asheni rachok mi oro yitaleh v'zoaro. It's not the radiance, not the revelation of God. What is hu hachomer atachton? Is the chomer of the lower levels of reality. What is it? So mishalik shetachas kisei hakavod. So it's first, it's not it's the shalik tachas kisei hakavod. Okay, what does shalik mean? Let's think for shalik for two. It's interesting to know what the different things behind this. For example, the Medrash describes how God's beard is snow white. By the way, it just says it's white like snow. So, he had a beard. I always thought he was clean shaven. Okay, but it says in Fush, his cyrus like white wool. That's what it writes. His cyrus like white wool. So white has a certain understanding. What is the emotion of shelig, of the white? Well, the shelig itself is something which, on the one hand, is pristine, pure, and then it melts and evaporates. It's not there. Okay, and in the meantime, after it evaporates, it becomes muddy and like sludge, and then it's not there anymore. If the sun comes out, it evaporates. So it's very interesting. What's the mashal? The mashal is it's some kind of a chaymer, which has no color, primary form, no color, obviously, because the primary color is pure. Well, they don't have black; they have white light. That means to say, obviously, before it goes into a prism, is the primary color. When it goes into tzimtzumim, all of a sudden you have the rainbow. I think I don't have to explain things that went to basic high school. Forget it. I always make this. It's not true. Not true. Not true. But you know what I mean, right? Did you ever play with a prism? I mean, did you ever like I don't know, burn ants with a magnifying glass or something like that? Did you ever play? Were you ever a kid? Okay, so you know that. So you know that. So white is a metaphor for white light, for formless. It has no color. Oh, so it's sheleg means to say it's a matter which has no form to it. And basically, and since any sense of form that it has evaporates, okay? That means to say it's primary matter, but not any matter that you would understand. This is what the Ramban describes, Yuli, she'en lo tzura ve'en lo tochen. That's why he calls it tohu v'vohu. Tohu. Tohu means question mark. What is this? I don't know. Bohu, you can put whatever you want into it. You can put whatever form you want. And that's literally white light. Everything's in it and nothing's in it. Okay? So that's the idea of shelling. I just want you to understand. These are the Mishalim found in Chazal on this. Pasuk says, as we know by Matan Torah, that they saw under the feet of God, so to speak, feet, right? They saw a brick of sapphire. Something which looks like a brick of sapphire, kimma said, like, it didn't say it was, like the realization of a brick of sapphire. Where is that? It's tachas kisei hakavod. And so what Rebbe Elazar writes, Shelik tachas hakisei, for him this means Maisa livness asapir. Same idea. Okay, that's what he says. That's the pshat in that pasuk. That's already interesting. Well, that's a good parallel. He says he doesn't understand the whole malach of the Rebbe Elazar. He's pointing out things you can take from it. What did they see? They saw Soid Achomer Rishon. No, that's not a good pshat in pasuk. Okay, so he says Ki Unkos Pish Raglav Musav Alakisei. Raglav doesn't mean the feet of God. It means under the feet of the kisei of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Unkos writes. K'moshi bi'artu lecha. V'zeh bi'er ki oto aloben ashetachat hakisei hu hachomer haaretz. That's what this medrash taught us. So thus we know. Once Raglav doesn't mean the feet of God, it means the feet of his kisei. And we understand there's a Maisa livness haper, which means something which is clear, clear, like sapphire-looking, whitish, as one would imagine it is. Therefore, what does it mean? It means this. It means sheli tachat zakisei. Ukfar chazar b'lazo hinyan ze b'atzmon b'perush. K'lomar she'em shnei chomarim elyon v'tachton. V'she'ein chomer akol achid. V'zeh sod gadol al takel b'biur gdolei chachamim bo. לפי שהוא סוד מסודות המציאות וסתר מסתרי התורה. בראשית רבה אמרו, רבי אליעזר אומר, כל מה שיש בשמיים, בריאתו מן השמיים. וכל מה שיש בארץ, בריאתו מן הארץ. Here you have it מפורש. רבי אליעזר, the same רבי אליעזר הגדול. בהתבונן איך ביאר לך חומר זה, כי חומר כל מה שבארץ, חומר אחיד משותף. כלומר, כל מה שתחת גלגל הירח, this is what Oretz means, כל גלגל הירח, וחומר כל השמיים, מה שהם חומר אחר זולת, that means anything from גלגל הירח and further. So Itaka takes it to mean also the cosmos. Anything further than what we would call the moon. That's based it. So firstly, he's explained to us that heavenly bodies are celestial. This is the Shittasi. He's very Aristotelian. He believes that the heavenly bodies are spiritual entities, and they're not made of a regular chaymer. He writes it Mefurish in Yad. Well, Neil Armstrong proved him wrong. Okay. We went up there, man. We walked on it. We know we have the rocks. It's the same chaymer as here, okay? So obviously, once again, these are possibilities which he understood through certain Aristotelian thoughts, and thought is the pshat of the mikros. We now know it's wrong, and we now have to explain those mikros differently. That's all. We have to understand Shemayim does not mean to say Shemayim, the moon or Jupiter. It means something else. It means Shemayim in Dvarim Yoshev B'Shemayim, which means the metaphysical transcendent realities. That's how I translated it. Rambam actually thought that anything above Kalgal Yarech is already called Shemayim. Well, it's been proven wrong. וביר בפרקיו נקודה נוספת זו, כלומר רמות אותו החומר כראותו אליו ומגרד זה אבגדיר גם מקומות דעת זאת. So he's taken this Rebbe Elazar, he's contested it, he says he doesn't understand really what the problem is. I think we've been miyashed that medrash, but he does take out of Rebbe Elazar these two nekudas, that the chomer HaKadmon of Shemayim is dim the chomer HaKadmon of Oretz, and they come from different places. Then he puts a parallel to that. Rebbe Elazar says so himself before in Medrash, in Bereshis Rabbah, and that's what you now basically this is no news to anybody who learns Ramban. This is the first Ramban in Bereshis. This is literally what he says. Okay, I'm going to leave you here and we'll do the pasuk next.